lifting. Once a week, the scope gifted. Let's hear from fake, hydration like Boucher. Don't focus on a date, we always here for you. MediaScope when you emotionally broke. Settle in our knowledge and conversations, don't make them yours. What we run is a limit, not your hands on the torch. Take it easy like Sundays on the porch. MediaScope when you emotionally broke. Settle in our knowledge and conversations, don't make them yours. What we run is a limit, not your hands on the torch. Take it easy like Sundays on the porch. You can walk the running with no award toys. This culture meets the art, podcast with the heart. And essence of the growing, the powers in the people. Without you we ain't equal, what we lack is ego. We're bad now, so here we go run the show like Arsenio. Episodic, our rituals, minds change to visual. Representation of our nation and its differences. Some explanation of our uniqueness and innocence. Mass media's intention is to desensitize. We raise the rise and knowledge is power. Without it, we turn coward and proud of a known product. Like we could take it with us. I wish the greats were still alive and here with us, but it is what it is. We're left here, share our gift, and that's precisely what we'll do with it. Shape shift and fluidly, we can pass this test and
what is going on, ladies and gentlemen of the world? Welcome to another edition of MediaScope, all things media, tech, and pop culture. I explain this every week, but I have to, because just in case we have some new people that are joining, I am so excited and ecstatic to have you. Let me put my name up so that you know who I am. Let's see. Let me put my name up. There we go. My name is Tachi, or Dr. Tachi, whichever is fine. Media professor, filmmaker, media content producer, also a journalist. And we are here every Wednesday on a whole bunch of platforms. Let me say hello to everybody. If you're watching me on my personal Facebook, or you're watching on the MediaScope Facebook, or the Indie Soup Media Facebook, welcome, Bookface. Good to see you. If you happen to be watching on LinkedIn, I'm trying not to be shady. LinkedIn, hopefully I will see your comments today. Same thing with Facebook. Those of you watching on my personal Facebook, for some reason, the comments haven't been populating. So I am going to be looking periodically so that I can say hi and take your questions. Also, come on, YouTube, the tubing of the you are awesome. By the way, for those of you that care, we hit 14,000 subscribers on the Indie Soup YouTube. So I'm excited about that. And myself, my own, if you're watching on my YouTube, I'm at 13.8, I think. So or 13 something. 14.3. See, look at me lying, but I'm at 14.3. So we're in the 1400s. We're in the 14K club. So thank you, everybody who follows, who has subscribed on YouTube. And if you haven't, you know what? Why not? You're already watching, so just subscribe and like and be part of the MediaScope family and the Indie Soup Media family. Fantastical. We have a guest today, ladies and gentlemen. Before we bring her on, I'm excited about this one. I want to say hello to some folks. Let's see who's here. I know we got some Instagram people on. Road to Legacy is here. What's up, Road to Legacy? Charlene Austin says, it's so good to see you, my dear. It is good to see you. Oneness mantra. Look at this, a Howard University sister. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Indie Arts Creation says, happy Wednesday to the MediaScope Massive. Bryson is here. What is up? Also, Kelly. What's up, Kelly? How are you? Dea is here, the Dominican queen herself. Welcome. And let me give you fair warning, Instagram. Of course, it sticks and I can't get to it. So I'm going to be looking on like another account. So if you see Tachiata join, that's me. So if I shout you out, that's me doing it. So wonderful. What's up, HU? Oh, sorry, you know. Thank you, Oneness Mantra. Absolutely. You know, Howard people have no chill. Everything is about Howard, yo. It is. It's all roads lead to Howard University. ACB, the therapist, is here. Welcome, my dear. How are you? Dana. What's up, Dana? Dana Kill, the comedian herself, the mathematician / comedian. What a combination. It is so good to have you here. And people are keep climbing in. So let me give you the hug to let you know I appreciate you being here. You could choose to be any place else in the world. And I'm glad you're here today because we have an amazing, amazing guest. And by the way, happy Juneteenth. Happy Juneteenth. So how did you celebrate, or how are you celebrating Juneteenth, or are you? Maybe you don't. So, but it would be interesting to know if you are. Put it in the chat if you are, and I will get back to Facebook and to LinkedIn and say hey to you guys. So hang in there. For some reason, I can't see you populating, but I know that you are there. All right, folks, we're going to do this. We are going to, first of all, I have to take a little bit of a break so that we can shout out Indie Soup Media. Yes, that is my network. We have a lot of great creators, but you know what? You don't have to take my word for it. Here we go. All right. Well, that is Indie Soup Media. You can pick it up on a lot of different places, including YouTube, Twitch. We do X, but we're not really about X, but you can find us there. But also on Facebook Live, you can find us on indiesoupmedia.tv, and you can also download the Roku app and hang out with us there. So there are a lot of ways to watch. We had a couple of people say what they're doing this Juneteenth. Road to Legacy podcast says letting people know the history of Juneteenth. That's how they celebrate. Also, Charlene Austin says, I am relaxing. Listen, nobody is faulting you for that one. Bryson also says, what's up, CQ fam? What is up? And we just celebrated our CEO's birthday. Was it yesterday? It was yesterday, I believe. It's not today, is it? It was either yesterday or today. So happy birthday to D Nice. Forgive me for not knowing whether it was yesterday or today. I just know that I saw something. So happiest of birthdays. There are a lot of birthdays that are coming up. It's today. Thank you. Indie Arts Creation says it is today. So Indira, thank you. All right. Without any further ado, because we've gone 11 minutes without our guest and we need to have her on. And so after this, she's going to be on. If Nikita Harris be for ye, who be against ye?
Oh my God, I can't believe you're starting like that.
Of course I am. Of course I am. I tell this story all the time. Everyone needs a Nikita in their corner because she is an amazing human being. She has an amazing spirit. And honestly, this is if everybody else is against you, Nikita will be for you. So you can, have the self-esteem knowing that Nikita is in your corner. My dear, how are you?
Oh my goodness. You're great. You are a great human being. So thank you for the invitation to be here today.
Absolutely. So folks, I'm going to let her introduce herself, but she started an amazing initiative and I'm going to let her tell you about it. But can you tell us a little bit about the history of what led you? So tell us the initiative and then talk about the history.
Okay. You want me to just kind of
go through it? Yes, absolutely. Go through it. And
let me tell you,
yeah.
I have to kind of just start from the very beginning.
Start from the very beginning. We have time.
Yeah. Okay.
Go ahead. Oops.
Loved cotillion culture. Ever since I was a little girl, I have been in love with cotillion culture. And I knew very young that one day that I wanted to be a part or participate as a cotillion participant. I remember looking through I grew up in North Texas, and I remember looking through my grandparents' old Ebony and Jet magazines. And I remember the first time I actually saw a Black debutante, it really caught my attention as a young girl. And I wanted to know more, and I began to read, and it just seemed like something very magical, something very beautiful that I wanted to be a part of. And eventually, as I got older, I had some older cousins who were about 4 or 5 years older than me, and they were invited to be presented through an all-women's organization here in Fort Worth, Texas, called the Assembly. And they're twins, and they were presented through the assembly. So I saw the process that my cousins went through, and then they had their picture in the paper, and I heard about, I was young, but I heard about all the debutante parties that they were going to, and this really special culminating ball called the debutante ball. And I heard people talking about it, and as my family was anticipating attending, I knew that that was something that I wanted to do. And so when I was in high school, I was presented as a junior debutante, probably around 15 or 16 years old. And I made my debut much older than a lot of girls do, or young women do, I should say. When I was in college, my sophomore year at college, I was presented through the assembly organizations such as my cousins. And guess what? It was just as magical as I thought it would be, and even more. And so over the years, I would just attend cotillion balls. And when my friends' children came of age, I would um, be invited to their events and to go through the whole debutante cotillion process with them. I always enjoyed it. And so, about a couple of years ago, probably more than that, probably several years ago, I just started around Christmas time, because that was the time when I was presented. I started posting pictures online. And I thought it was really odd that people would inbox me and they would ask, "What is it? I know you didn't get married. What is that?" Right? And when I would describe what it was, and I would tell them, "Oh, those are pictures from when I made my debut in college," they were like, "For real? Is that real? Does that really happen?" Those type of ceremonies still happen today. And it made me sit back and think about, because in my world, uh, they happened all the time. And not only have I been presented, I have family members such as sister and nieces and cousins who have gone through the cotillion process. And so I started posting pictures on Instagram and Facebook, and I started getting this response from different people. And I started to say, you know, and people started to ask for more. And so that's how it kind of led into me starting really promoting African American cotillion culture, the rituals, the traditions on social media.
Wow, wow, wow. So it's interesting that people ask, is this something that is real? Did you find that you did not see this currently being shown? I mean, you know this because you're in this world and you understand it, but do you think people don't think it's something that actually happens or still happens because it's not being shown in media and it's not being shown on social media?
Absolutely. And they may not be even connected to a community that celebrates it, even within the African American community. Just a few weeks ago, it was quite interesting. Someone posted, I think it was from the Harlem Cotillion from 1950. And I ran to the comments just to see what the response was to the images that were being posted. And there were different types of comments, and a lot of them was like, "We need to bring this back. This is our children need to participate in this. I remember when my sister was. I wish we still had those traditions going." And for me, I'm saying, and I'm looking at where some of these people are from, and they're from major cities, and some of these cities have 4 and 5 different forms of cotillion programs present. So the network and being connected, but I also think that showing these images the way that I have and others have been doing through media has increased interest and has brought to light that this is still very much part of our culture, African American culture.
Absolutely. So representation matters in this
Yes,
case.
yes,
Representation really matters.
yes.
All right. So before we go on, I want to say hello to a few people. If you are just joining us, welcome to the fold. This is MediaScope, all things media, tech, and pop culture. And this wonderful lady over here to it's my left, but actually looks like right to you all, is Dr. Nikita Harris. She is the visionary and the director of the National Black Debutante Project, which is just an amazing project to let us know that debutantes are real, that it
Yeah,
happens.
so I always post hashtag debutantes are real because
Mhm.
I was getting a number of messages from people all over the country. Is this real? And I'm like, yes, this is real. And then I said, well, you know what, Nikita, you're showing them something from, because I was a debutante in 1989. I said, show more recent pictures of debutantes and cotillions, and so that they can understand that this is still a rich part of our culture.
Mm. So let's get into some more about this. Do you think that this, or let me go this way, have you gotten comments that this type of thing can be divisive? I think sometimes when people think of debuts and debutantes, they think about rich people, they think about people with money, they think about people that, if we're talking about Black people, that have been involved in organizations like Jack and Jill, etc. And there's already this feeling of division. Do you think that these types of things add to division, or have you heard that?
Oh, yes. Oftentimes I will receive comments from people like, I can't believe that you're promoting something like this. But I understand that they don't know the history, and they don't understand that for African American cotillions, they were established in protest to inequality and segregation. And African American communities came together and said, you know what? Our young women are just as refined and graceful as any other young woman on this earth, and we want to uplift them and we want to celebrate them. A lot of people don't have that history because they don't really know much about it. And so I understand that some of their views. And then also, they are reading about European cotillions, they're reading about white American cotillions, which have a very different start and origination than African American cotillions.
Absolutely. And if you think about it, when you look at this, now I never went through an entire cotillion process.
Mhm,
I went through half of it. And
mhm.
then I stopped because I got so busy once I was in high school. But there, from what I went through, I remember very much about it being likened to a rites of passage. In fact, there was a
Yes.
whole African rites of passage part to it where you had to learn dances, there were ceremonies. And so what I've noticed with many of these programs, they're also rites of passage programs. Can you talk
Yeah,
a little bit more about
it's a
that?
time, it's a time in a young woman's life, or a young man's, because they also have male cotillions, where they are coming of age, and the community has decided to celebrate them as they're transitioning into adulthood. A debutante means making her debut, coming of age, and that's what is referred to. And so over the years, and when we start getting to like the 80s, especially African American community says we need to also provide a platform like this for our young men. And so you'll see male cotillions. Some of them have been called botillions. The sorority of Phi Alpha Kappa, they call their participants kudos. Uh, I think that there was a Black Male Society Club. They call them gentlemen. So there are different names for the presentation of males as depending on the organization.
Mm. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Mhm.
So, we're talking about, for those of you just joining in, we're talking right now about the history of cotillion programs, and some for young men, they're also called like botillions. So, we're talking about this history with Dr. Nikita Harris. Let's take some hellos first of all. First of all, D. Carpio says hello to both of us. She says hello. By the way, if you don't know, Nikita and I were in the same doctoral program at Howard University.
Yes, yes,
So the doctorates are equal into parallel, I should say, because we came out of the same program. She graduated a
absolutely.
little bit before I did, actually 2 years before I did.
Yes,
No,
yes.
3 years before I did. So
Okay.
because
Yeah,
you were
it probably
quick.
might have been, but it seems like it was we were all there together because you did your master's there.
Yes,
And
yes.
so, sometimes I forget that, and sometimes I'll say, "Hey, you started with me," and you're like, "No, remember, I was there for my master's.
Right. I was in the master's program, but
Yes,
we were all doing things and presenting at the same time. So it just felt like, I mean, that's why I treasure Howard.
yes.
This is why, I mean, how many other people do I talk to from my undergrad? Two,
I know.
two people.
I tell people all the time, Howard wasn't perfect, but it was definitely magical. And I'll take magic over perfection any day.
Hello. Give me magic all day long. I don't need
I take
perfection.
magic over perfection any day. Yes.
We also have Jasmine, who is here, who says, hello. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. B Pearl is joining us over on the Instagram side. Also, Squeaky, what's up? Matt Carmen is also here. How are you over in Arizona? I'm quite sure it's quite hot. So thank you for joining us, definitely. And folks, if you have questions, please make sure that you put your questions in the chat. I am very happy to pass them on to Dr. Harris so that she can answer them. It's a conversation here, and we want you to be part of it. Also, G, one of the creators on Indie Soup Media, says, good evening to you, G. It is so good to have you here. Thank you so much for being here. Fantastic. So I kind of want to veer off a little bit and come back to this because today is Juneteenth. So I could not ask you about this. You're a Texas girl, but more specifically, you are a Fort Worth girl. And a few years ago, you had the wonderful pleasure of interviewing the mother or grandmother of Juneteenth, Miss Opal Lee. And I had the pleasure of editing it, and I was like,
oh, yes, you did.
I did edit it. Yeah, you like, can you edit this?
Absolutely.
I'm like, I sure can.
And you think about it, that was around the middle of May of 2021. Mm-hmm. And I was chairing the Juneteenth program for the University of Alabama, the first Juneteenth program ever. And I said, not only am I am a Fort Worth girl, I'm a fourth generation Texan. My family has a 150-year tradition in celebrating Juneteenth. And so that's very special and very meaningful for me. And so I said, you know what? I want to interview Dr. Opal Lee, because she's just received an honorary doctorate for this particular project. And so that was like May 15th, May 16th, 2021. Little did we know that almost 3 or 4 weeks later, that President Joe Biden would actually sign it into legislation, making it a federal holiday. And so I was like, dang, it would have been so nice to have talked to her about what her feelings were. But I had the opportunity to go back and interview her for Advanced Auto Corporate. And I sat down with her and talked about her feelings and congratulated her. And so I'm just so excited. And just a few weeks ago, she received the Presidential Award, Civilian Awards, which is one of the highest honors in this country. So yes, we are very excited for Opal Lee, and we are very excited, especially as Texans, because a lot of people don't know that Juneteenth has been a state holiday in Texas since 1980.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So when I went to college, I thought everybody knew about Juneteenth. I was like, people were talking about what they were going to do for 4th of July. I was like, well, what y'all going to do for Juneteenth? They were like, June what? And I was just amazed and shocked because it was so much a part of my life and part of my family's tradition growing up.
Wow. Yeah, I think places that had a lot of Texans and Southerners that migrated, they had some inkling. For example, in Buffalo, we had a Juneteenth parade every year. When I was like, what is Juneteenth? I had no clue exactly what it was until later. And then, there were other places that even had like beauty contests like Mr. and Miss Juneteenth. And
absolutely. That's part of the tradition. Yes. So my cousins my family who migrated to Los Angeles, LA, Southern California during the 40s and the 50s, as well as those that went Midwest like Kansas and Missouri, you will find very deep-rooted Juneteenth celebration traditions in those communities. So people did they took that culture, they took that tradition with them. Yes. So thank you for identifying and that, because that is Juneteenth is a very special time in my life.
I know. Well, I mean, you have the Juneteenth flag behind you, so I said I
Yes,
can't
the
not
Juneteenth
ask.
flag. Tiffany Stark, who is a fashion design creator. This is my Juneteenth dress that have the colors representing the liberation, and it's hand painted. So yeah, and you know I have my cowboy boots on.
I know you do. I know you do. Listen,
Yes,
Dr.
yes.
Harris did not come to play. She is, I don't know.
I would have my cowboy hat on today if I didn't have these braids.
I don't know how many pairs of boots and how many hats she has, but she is Texan
Hey,
through
listen,
and through.
listen. I tell my friends, everybody's getting excited, asking me, "Oh, where do you buy this?" Because of Beyonce. I was like, I was doing this way before Beyonce.
You were. You were. I remember very well when we came for something for you. You were like, everybody wear Western wear. I was like, Western what? I don't have any of that. Where would I get that from? But this was something that is so second nature for you that it was nothing. So then everybody, all of a sudden, everybody is Western.
Oh yeah, and then when
All
you
of
go
a
into the mall, when you go into the store in the malls, you see boots and Western wear and fringes, and you can go into Macy's or just a regular Dillard's and see stuff that I would have to go to Cavender's or some special store in the stockyards to purchase. Now you can just get in a regular store.
But it's not the same. It's not the same. I remember very well when I went to El Paso for the Dow Jones journalism boot camp. And I told you I was going to El Paso. You're like, El Paso? Why? I was like, there's a journalism boot camp at UTEP. And one of the groups did a story on a Western boot maker. The boots were beautiful. I mean, I was like, it made me want to, I'm like, I need to find a way to get a pair of these boots. And I live in Florida, but I need to find a way because they were that beautiful. And there's
I wonder if it was Justin Boot Company.
You know what? I'll look it up and I'll tell you.
Yeah,
but
that's a very popular boot company. Yeah,
it must be. But beautiful. So it was in we were all writing for something called Border Zine, which talked about doing things beyond borders. And so all of us came from like border cities. So things on the border and people that may have been on the border with Mexico, but we're a border city because Cuba and Latin America. So this is like the gateway to Latin America. So it was really eye-opening and I enjoyed that. But that was my introduction to Western boots.
Yes. And they're quite expensive.
So that's why I don't have a pair, Nikita.
They're quite expensive. So you gotta have to save your pennies for them.
Absolutely. Well, let's say hello to one of my favorite. I mean, everybody is my favorite, but he is a regular media scoper. He and Dee are here without fail every week. We have the food plane who is over from NYC, but over on the YouTube side. And are you asking me? I do not have a pair of cowboy boots, but she's got several pairs. Yeah. And she is from Fort Worth, Texas.
Yes, North Texas.
Yes, North Texas. And okay, he was rocking them in New York. Well, you can rock them in New York because your feet won't get hot.
Yeah. New York loves their cowboy boots as well.
Absolutely.
Yes, they do.
Absolutely. Let's say hello to Dee Tuggle. Hello, Dee Tuggle. How are you? Soldier in the House is here. Also, Zap Boogie, one of my favorites from Funk Around Music. Thank you so much for being here. Please, folks, if you have any questions for Dr. Harris, please put them in the chat. I am happy to ask. And guess what? If you, for some reason, want me to really see you because I have to like go back and forth on some of the other platforms, come on over to the tubing of the U. Come to YouTube. I can see you right away then. But we thank you for being wherever you are. Oh, and you know who I forgot to say hello to? And forgive me. Every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern time, you can hear the replay of the Wednesday show on Gospel 107.1 FM in Nassau, Bahamas, and the rest of the Caribbean. I wish you a multitude of blessings. Thank you for having me, and we can't wait to hang out with you guys tomorrow at 2 p.m. All right. So now that we've gotten on the Juneteenth thing, I got that out because I had to ask. Let's get on back to this whole the whole thing in the National Black Debutante Project. Who are your major supporters? Who are you finding is your major support?
You know, it's very interesting because when I started posting pictures, I was really posting pictures on IG just for, well, let me go back. You know, I'm an academic. And so about 10 years ago, it was 2014, I was celebrating my 25th anniversary of being presented as a debutante. So I went to the debutante ball that year. And it's just something that hit me while I was sitting there. And I started to say, this is just really beautiful. I wish more people knew about it. I wish more young women could participate and be a part of something very special, such as this event. And I started saying, well, maybe I should show because there's a lot of visual beauty as it relates to the pageantry of it in terms of the dress and the attire and the dance. And I left there saying, well, I'm going to go and write a book about it, as most academics, as how academics think. And so I looked up and I got to 2019 and I had not done anything. And now I was celebrating my 30th year anniversary as a debutante. Guess what, Tachi? This year is going to be my 35th year. So
Really?
yes. So in 2019, I said, well, I need to really hold myself accountable to this. And so I just started posting pictures for my own motivation. Like, don't forget this. And then I started posting pictures and I started learning about the different history of different cotillion clubs, like the Rosa T. Beard Cotillion Club in Augusta and the Les Mires et Debutante in Michigan, Lansing to be exact, and just learning about the different cotillion clubs, the Detroit Cotillion Club, and people started kind of following me on Instagram. I didn't think anything of it. I started having conversations. I knew that it was going someplace. I just didn't know where. Okay. And I knew that there was interest. So that kept me motivated. Then guess what? The pandemic hit, right? But I just kept posting just for my own self. And I was getting motivated by people. They were like, this is really beautiful. People were, inboxing me messages. And one of the things I noticed that people wanted to share their debutante cotillion experience with me. This is what happened during my cotillion. This is what I love about my process, talking about picking out the dress.
It seems like we are stuck a little bit. Dr. Harris, if you can still hear me, let me know. I think you're stuck. And what you can do is go out and come back in. And we can continue from there. Listen, folks, technology can and will fail you. And so this is sometimes especially around this time, it is really, really difficult to have a stable connection sometimes. So she's still frozen. So Dr. Harris, if you can, go out and come back in, please. So she's still circling backstage. So let's take a couple of comments. Folks, I hope you've had a great day, a great Juneteenth. If you celebrate Juneteenth, if you're just coming in, welcome in. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Tachi, media professor, filmmaker, media content producer, also a journalist. I'm here every week, almost every week on Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern time. We have all sorts of media tech and pop culture news and also guests. Sometimes we have some guests too. So welcome. So let's take some commentary and see if we do have a comment. So Terry Johnson says, what's up, MediaScope fam? How are you? What's up, Terry Johnson? She also is a creator on Indie Soup Media. It is great to see you. Yeah, no, I hope she can make it back too. She should be able to. Sometimes that happens. Listen, technology can and will fail you, but here's the cool thing. So here is a thing for those of you that use streaming software like StreamYard. StreamYard is pretty stable, and it is the easiest for people to come on just because of the link. So that's one thing. You can make sure that you have a local recording on. This is for all of you. What's up, DJ SK? How are you? Make sure you have a local recording on, because then that takes a clean copy from your computer, or your camera, I should say. So it takes a minute to upload afterwards, but after this is done, it takes a clean copy from your camera so you don't have any interruptions. Now, this is the thing. It also means that you have to do some editing, because it just gives you the conversation separately. So it's not going to be like how you are together with another person side by side on screen. You're going to have to edit that together, but it's better than having nothing. And this gives you an excuse to learn to edit, right? By the way, let me know. Would you all be interested in some kind of editing workshop? Let me know. We could do something, some kind of little session one of these Wednesdays. Just let me know. Denise is here. It says, hello. How are you, Denise? It is so good to see you. DiCarpio is saying hello to Terry Johnson online. Folks, if you're just joining, we're waiting for, let me see. She may be trying to text me. Yeah, I don't know. She may be coming back in. Let's see. No, not yet. Okay, so we're just going to keep going. Let's talk a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about some media before we, as we wait for her to come back in. So hopefully she will. We've got. Am I safe from the floods? Thank you for asking. Yes, here's the thing. If you are buying or renting or trying to live someplace like Florida where flooding can happen, I implore you not to live in a flood zone. Yes, I'm a mile from the beach, but it doesn't flood like on my street. Usually everybody's like waiting and we're fine. Over here. I think because the ground is a little higher. So thank you for asking. Yes, we are fine, but it's rainy season. It happens. You just have to be prepared. Mosby is here. What's up? You're good. Good, Denise. It's good to see you. And guess who's back? Dr. Nikita Harris. We're going to bring her back on stage. Hey, Dr. Harris.
I don't know what happened.
Look, technology can and will fail you, but I'm glad that you were able to come back in.
Oh my goodness.
They were about to get a lesson. You know how we do when you're a professor. You're like, okay, time to teach something. So and you know what? I think it could be, it's probably your connection. Because you're frozen again, but it's okay. You know what you can do is make sure that you're very close to your, if you're not close to your router, see if you can plug in, hardwire in, make sure that you're not using other things with your Wi-Fi. It's always better, folks, also to be plugged in. Yeah, you're stuck again. That's okay. That's okay. Come back when you're ready, my dear. We will be here. So she is stuck again. So, and the food plane said, you have a beautiful smile. And DiCarpio said her aunt is in Pompano Beach and no problem for her. Yeah, if you're on high enough ground, it should be okay. But if you're trying to live at First and Ocean, yeah, you may have some problems. Although, there are not a whole lot of houses there. It's all like high rises and, well, First and Ocean, that's all hotels. Yeah. So, but if you're trying to live like someplace in South Beach, yeah, you're gonna notice some flooding, even like during king tide times. But yeah, we're good up here. Fantastic. All right, let's see if we have any things on Facebook. Bobby Stamps is watching. What's up, Bobby? Good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. It is good to have you. And yes, she does have a beautiful smile. DiCarpio agrees. Wonderful. All right, folks. So as we wait for her to come back, let's talk a little bit about what's happening in media. Who has watched or who used to watch Everybody Hates Chris? Anybody? So if you're not familiar with Everybody Hates Chris, it is a show that is loosely based off of Chris Rock's life and his younger years, being in Brooklyn and being bused basically to a school where he was one of a few. If there was any more than black people than him. And he talked about, some of the things he had issues with in a comedic way, but that's what comedians do. Well, that was on the air from 2005 to 2009. So it was on for 4 seasons. And it seems like Everybody Hates Chris was like just on, but it can't be because, the person who plays Chris is now in Abbott Elementary and he's grown. So if you are looking for a fix of new episodes and you want to know if there's going to be other things, yes, there is going to be an animated version of Everybody Hates Chris called Everybody Still Hates Chris. That is a rough life. You go from one show to another show and people still hate you. Still forever, they still hate you. Yeah, that's a problem. But this is actually going to talk about, I think, his younger years. So we've got Tashina Arnold, who's back as the mother. We have, help me with the father's name. We know who the father is. So Chris Rock is there. He's going to be voicing things. So this is animated and they're voicing. He's doing the narration, Chris Rock. Tashina Arnold is voicing the mother. And why can't I think of his name? Bobby Stamps remembers Fat Albert. Bobby, where did that come from? But I remember Fat Albert too. I used to be a Fat Albert fan. I was. Yes, she played Pam. Tashina Arnold played Pam. But why am I not remembering the fight? And I'm seeing him bald, former football player. Hey, Squeaky. She used to watch it. Denise used to watch it as well. Terry Crews. Thank you, Denise. I'm seeing his face. Terry Crews, because he's also like a host for, is it America's Got Talent? I think so. So he's also a host there. So he does a lot of those types of things. So he is back voicing the dad. And we've got like everybody voicing the younger crew is like all new crew. So I think that's really fantastic because I love animation. I don't know if you all do, but I adore animation. So I'm really happy to have that coming back. Thank you, Girls Club. Jasmine, she says Terry Crews. Yes, Terry Crews, absolutely. So that is a little bit of media news that's happening. We're still waiting for Dr. Harris to come back in, and these things happen. So, word to the wise, have something prepared when these things happen. So I could use this as a teachable moment. We love teachable moments here. Sometimes guests won't show up. Sometimes something will be wrong technologically and you have to cover. So have something prepared. I always have some knowledge, right? So have a plan B for in case this doesn't happen. Exactly. Okay. So Full Plane says, what animations do you enjoy? I'm just starting to get into some anime like My Hero Academia, right? Sailor Moon. I'm starting to get into some anime. I haven't gotten deep into it yet, but I'm, starting with that. So I really I always have loved anime, the way it's drawn, but I think it's amazing. But anything animated, I'm into. Now, I haven't been watching as much, but listen, The Simpsons was my jam. I haven't been watching as much because on Sundays, I'm usually doing something else, but I used to love The Simpsons. I absolutely did. So let's see. Can she phone in plan C? You know what? You know what she can do? Well, if it wasn't freezing, sometimes she may have to leave her camera off because sometimes both is a problem, but leaving the camera off is not as bad. So when she comes back, I will tell her about leaving the camera off. Bobby Stamp says he remembered hating Raymond. Oh, everybody loves Raymond. I wasn't really into that show. Does anybody else, were you an Everybody Loves Raymond person? That and Everybody Hates Chris were on like basically at the same time. So I would watch it sometimes, but you know how you're just watching something because the TV is just on? Yeah, it was one of those things. So wasn't necessarily my favorite, but hey, if that was your jam, if you like it, I like it for you. Absolutely. All right. And yeah, Bobby Stamp says Meerkat Connection Days. Hello. How are you? And he also says, cheers, mates. Oh, look, this is populating over here. Thank you for saying that. Here we go. All right. So let's do this. Hopefully, she'll come back in. I will have her turn off her camera, and we may have to stay a little bit later today. Either that or bring her back. She's an amazing uh, book of wealth of knowledge. That's better, not book of wealth, but wealth of knowledge. And so I really would love to hear. So we'll probably try and bring her back if we're not able to complete today. And we've got a comment just in. She says, "If I may, I love the jacket." Thank you. Thank you very much. And so you know that the air condition is on full blast for me to be able to wear a jacket inside. I'm like, oh, this has to go all the way down if I'm going to do this. But, it's kind of like a springy, summery type of jacket. But, it is what it is. By the way, put in the chat what's going on weather-wise where you are. Is everything cool? I'm sure it's quite warm wherever you are, but let me know. And also let me know where you are watching from. I would love to know that. All right, so let's get some more stories in because, since we are here, let's see if give me a second. Here we go. Nope, not yet. So I was trying to see if she texted me to let me know something, and she's not back in yet. So let's get to know some stuff. All right. So I have let's talk about this. Do you all know that there is a documentary new on Netflix from Shonda Rhimes talking about Black Barbie? So, Barbie and Oppenheimer were the biggest things of last summer since sliced bread. For some reason, I didn't see either one of them. If you did, let me know, but I didn't see either one. But there is a documentary that is talking about Black Barbie, and it is available now on Netflix. I saw this today and I said, oh, I got to watch it. So it is, I guess every summer is now going to be a Barbie summer. Which is cool with me. So it's called Black Barbie, a documentary, and it's actually talking about the impact of 3 Black staffers at Mattel on the doll's debut and how they influenced generations of young Black girls. I don't know if you all know, but at some point, if you were young, you couldn't really get multicultural dolls at all. So it was this and that was all you had. So if you wanted a doll, your options were limited. So when they talked about what could be done, etc., these staffers were like, we want a Black Barbie. And Black Barbie went from being the friend of Barbie to then being a Barbie herself. So you know how Barbie has friends like Jenny, that type of thing. So Black Barbie was no longer a Jenny, it became a Barbie. So that's out now on Netflix. If you are interested in that should be some good. I love a good documentary. That should be some good summer, not summer reading, but summer viewing. And G says, I saw that documentary ad for Black Barbie. She's going to watch it. And guess what? It looks like we've got Dr. Harris back. I'm going to give her a moment to get herself straight and together. And Bobby Stamps is in London. That's right. I hope you're having a great time. It says, otherwise great weather here in London. G says it's warm but cloudy in Arlington, Texas. You want to know the secret to the skin. It's called It's Hot Here, and therefore I am greasy. So, but you know what? Maybe we'll talk about that one day. Maybe I'll do a Be More where I talk about that because all of that is connected to your presence on film. So definitely. Let's see. Denise says it's hot here in Michigan. We are under a heat advisory. It is 90 degrees. Please be careful. Be careful. Be careful. All right. Let's bring Dr. Harris back on stage. Hey, Dr. Harris.
I had to do my phone. I was trying to do it horizontal, right?
Listen, don't worry. The fact is you're here. That's okay. All that matters. That's all that matters.
I apologize. Something wacky was going on. I had never seen that before.
And you know what? That happens sometimes with when you're doing from computer. And
Mhm.
so no worries, no worries. So let's see, where were we? We were
Thank you for being so patient. Thank you.
yeah, no problem, no problem. And if you don't mind if we go like 5 minutes over or so to give you
Okay.
some time
Yes.
yeah, absolutely. Great, great, great. So
So I
again,
think I was telling you, then I started posting on IG.
yes.
And so I really started getting serious about posting and the project uh, earlier this year when I started thinking about how I could do more in documenting, preserving, and celebrating African American cotillion culture. And so from that, three initiatives formed. And one is that I am working in partnership with the Auburn Avenue Research Library on the history and culture in actually creating a national archive project to document, preserve African American cotillion culture and history. And also in doing that is the creation of a national database for, because a lot of people around the country contact me and they say, hey, I have a son or a daughter that is interested in this type of experience. I don't know of any cotillion programs. Can you direct me to them? And so then I started to see a need as far as that. So I am now working with a designer, and we're developing a database, and we're going to start the National Archive, which will start in July, on July the 1st. So I took the project to Facebook, and I was very shocked. Within 2 weeks, I had over 4,500 followers interested in this thing called African American cotillion culture.
Ah, interesting.
Hmm.
Wow, wow, wow. So how do you intend to scale this, if that makes any sense? How do you want this to grow, and what methods are you using to get this to grow?
Are you talking about in grow in terms of social media?
Yeah, well, social media, and then to get more people involved in the project.
Well, in a couple of weeks, I will probably most likely do some videos to let the followers know about where they can go and actually um, submit their information. How can they donate to the archives? But there are a couple of different things that started happening before then, just building a community of people. Also, I started receiving feedback from people all over the US. Well, our community doesn't do anything like this, so we would like to do this. How can we find out more information? Do you actually hold a cotillion? I'm like, no, I'm just here trying to preserve the history. I'm not actually conducting any cotillions, but that let me know that there was a need there. So one of the things that I did is I started a community Facebook group. Right. That was
Mm.
my first time ever starting a group. And we talk about things that are related to the start of cotillion culture. We have members there that have been a part of the cotillion world. They're giving advice on things to identify, or things in starting, some of the tips, the best tips, and approaches to bringing this type of cotillion experience, how to select cotillion participants, how to market. All of those different topics are being discussed within this kind of small community group. And the as far as IG and Facebook, one of the things that's very powerful is I show a lot of the images that happen with as it relates to the cotillion ball, and that tends to be very moving for a lot of people to see young people in their tuxes and in their dresses. I get a lot of positive feedback from actually seeing young people in a different light than we typically see them in today's social media.
Mm. So we have a comment here from Squeaky. She says, only in the South, never in California. Is this something that you're finding? Does that not happen in places like California?
Oh my God, California probably has right now in my mind, if I had to rattle, I could rattle off 15 or 20 programs in California
Oh,
from
wow.
Southeast. It is not a Southern thing. They're in New York. New Mexico, Las Vegas. That's the reason why I'm trying to bring this to light, because often people say, "Oh, it's just a Southern thing." No, there are cotillion programs all over the U.S. Seattle, Tacoma, Washington, Seattle,
Mm.
Washington. I was just in San Diego. They have two very prominent programs. The
Oh,
California African American Museum just did an exhibit highlighting the Links organization that have had a long-standing cotillion program since the 50s.
wow.
So that's something I often get. Oh, it only happens in the South. I really can't think. Maybe I haven't heard of it in North Dakota or South Dakota or Wyoming, but in the Northeast, the Midwest, Southeast, Southwest, there are cotillion programs that have been going on for 50, 60, 70 years. Delaware, the AKA chapter in Delaware just celebrated 75 years. So
Really?
yeah, so
Wow.
this is just not a Southern thing.
Very interesting. And
Mhm.
when I started the process of doing my debutante program, I was in New York.
You're in
So
New York,
I
right?
was in New York.
And
Yeah. So
some of the pictures, some of the old pictures that you see, that I've come across of people that are showing, or a lot of those cotillion balls that happen in New York happen in Harlem and happen in some of the major cities around those areas. So yes, this is a culture. The first African American cotillion, a lot of people don't know, was started in New Orleans in 1895.
oh
And
wow.
so, yes, so the cotillion program that I was presented in has been presenting young women since 1940. So over 80 years. And so there's a long, rich history annually. They have never stopped. Maybe if there was like World War I or World War II, one of those wars came up, they didn't do it that year.
Right.
Even through the pandemic, these programs found creative ways to continue the tradition. And I thought that that was very neat. But you did have a couple programs across the country that, they stopped because of just the the health issues that were surrounding the pandemic. But my niece was presented during the pandemic, and only the families were there. And they videotaped it, and they were able to show it later on to family and friends. So they found a lot of creative ways, even in the middle of the pandemic, to continue the tradition.
That's wonderful. And
Mhm.
let's take some comments. Oneness Mantra, who we know very well, another Howard PhD, says she loves this. Seeing our communities support our youth is so important. My son and daughter participated in Denver, Colorado.
Yes, the is at the Owl Club. I attended
Oh,
Kiana's debutante cotillion in and they've been presenting debutantes since the 40s in Denver,
oh,
Colorado.
oh,
And also
wow.
my mentor who serves on the advisory board, she's a 1963 debutante from Denver, Colorado. So that's one of the misconceptions.
Dr. Clink Scales.
One
Mhm.
of the misconceptions is that this is a Southern thing, that this is only for the really wealthy. You will find girls being presented across socioeconomic. Of course, when this first started in the early 1900s, African Americans that could afford, renting out ballrooms, and there was, they were the ones to start to establish it. But over
Mhm.
time, this has grown and become very inclusive of youth from all backgrounds. And then
Mm.
there are a lot of cotillion programs that look for outside sponsors to make sure that everyone can participate in this type of experience.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I want to speak to that, but let's say hello to Trish, who is from California as well. And Squeaky says she would have never known, and that it's good that she knows now.
Mhm.
Also, let's see, Carolina is here. Hi, Carolina. Welcome from New Jersey. And Trish is sending her love to all of us from Instagram. Fantastic. Also, let's see. Also, Dr. Vibe is here. Hello, Dr. Vibe, the man who does epic conversations. Almost absolutely amazing. Not only do we have some of his stuff on Indie Soup Media, he is also part of the advisory board of Indie Soup Media. So welcome in, Dr. Vibe. Gail says Jack and Jill, they absolutely, yes, do some chapters do cotillions as well.
Yes. And then oftentimes people think, because today, today you hear of some of the organizations, the Divine Nine organizations, or Jack and Jill, or the Links. But really, when you look at the history, it was civic community
Mhm.
organizations that came together to establish cotillions, and those organizations picked it up and continued the tradition.
Yeah.
But when you look at the communities where businessmen and philanthropists within the community came together to establish these types of programs, that is where all of this started. And I think before I got cut off, I was talking about the first cotillion program that
Yes.
was first to present girls to society, was the original Illinois club out of New Orleans, and they still to this day present girls. And they've been presenting young women to society since 1895. The
Sheesh. So
Idlewild Club in Dallas just celebrated 100 years of presenting young women to society.
I
So, and
think,
they've done
yeah.
it annually for 100 years. So, the misconception that this is no longer a part of our culture, I hope that by creating this national database, by creating a national archive, that I would bring this part of history to light, that it is still a rich part of our culture, a rich part of American culture, because I always say the Black cotillion story is the American story.
It is. It absolutely is an American story. Just like Juneteenth is American history. This is American history. It is part of the American
I
story.
just recently posted that the tradition of the Black debutante defied Jim Crow.
Mm,
It was in
mm.
direct defiance to segregation and inequality. So sometimes people will say this is something negative, and I say, well, how is it negative? And I really haven't gotten a really good response how something of celebrating young people coming of age in a formal way. And even if you look at, before, it was to develop them skills as far as etiquette and social skills, but today they have expanded that. I was looking at a group out of Memphis who does a cotillion, and they do a whole thing on financial literacy with girls that
Mm.
participate in their cotillion, or young men about different things, entrepreneurship, and preparing them. It's always been about preparing them for life skills. And as
Yes,
time has changed, you've seen the way that the cotillion piece of it has changed as well in terms of preparation.
absolutely. Absolutely. This is the interesting thing. Going back to talking about where I posed the question about the perception that people have about this, about it being people of means and wealth. I can tell you specifically for, I'm a member, you already know, but some people may not know, I'm a member of Delta Sigma Theta,
Mhm.
and I have chaired our cotillion for many years. I'm not now, but I had chaired it for many
Mhm.
years. A lot of the girls didn't come from money at all. And so we were
Mhm.
like, how can we raise some money to make sure that they have so that they can also participate?
Right,
So,
right. A lot
right,
of programs do that, right? And also,
absolutely.
not in terms of the program that I was presented in, we were invited. It was very private, so it wasn't any fundraising. It was just the honor of being presented. But a
Mm,
lot of cotillion programs, both for females and males, they raise and help raise money to send kids to school in
yes,
terms of their collegiate aspirations, which is a
yes.
really, really great thing. And there are certain programs that give students as much as $8,000 and $10,000
That's what I'm talking about.
for college.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
talking about. Because
exactly.
$500 is nice, but
Yes, but yeah, $8,000 to take care of that first semester of room and board. So
yes,
there is
yes.
some for some programs there are a lot of benefits to participating, as well as getting the mentoring and the development through the workshops.
Fantastic. And so Food Plane asked, is this just for women? And I know you weren't here when she started talking about this. So would you mind explaining again?
Oh yeah, there are also male cotillions. Of course, the debutante cotillions were first established for young men. I'm still doing my research, but around the 80s, we start to see an uptick tick and more cotillions being presented for young men. Okay. And so sometimes they're called botillions. Earlier, I said the National Sorority of Phi Delta Kappa, when they present young men, they call them kudo presentations. Uh, I've also seen them being called gentleman presentations. So these cotillion programs are just not for women, but also for young men of coming of age. You are seeing different organizations sponsor those types of cotillions.
Yes. So the answer to that is yes.
Yes.
Yes, there are. It is equal opportunity when it comes to presentations. So I do want to ask, before we go, I do want
Hmm.
to ask about the more about the media end of this. But let me
Yes.
say first of all, hello to Jesus Black Man. How are you, sir? Fifi from Charlotte, North Carolina, is joining us. Thank you so much for being here. Carolina says the Delta Ball in Charlotte recently was beautiful. My boyfriend worked on the music and lighting. Listen, it's a
Oh
production
yeah,
when we
I'm
do
very
these things.
familiar with the Delta Ball in Charlotte.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
really?
But I mean, like I said, they're all over. It's just not a Southern thing. Now, you will see a lot of cotillions held in the South. However, there are in the West Coast, the North, the Midwest, the Northeast.
Mhm.
They're very much a part of those traditions. Just like I said, in Delaware, they just celebrated 75 years.
Wow. So this is and you know what I would love to know, Dr. Vibe, you can tell me, is this something that is done or celebrated in Canada? And you probably know, Dr. Vibe, whether or not you've seen, because we talk about galas every day and we joke about them, but let me know if they do cotillions in Canada. Have you come across any Canadian cotillions, Dr. Harris?
I have one lady that contacted me recently, and she said that she was presented in a cotillion. It wasn't an exclusive African American cotillion, but she was presented, I think, like in the 70s,
Oh, wow.
I can't remember what part of Canada, but she actually participated in an event very similar to a cotillion.
How interesting. Wow. I'd
Mhm.
I'd love to I'd love to hear from you about the international sense of this. Obviously, we have this is something that is very much part of the American story, but as Americans have spread all over the globe, I'm wondering if this is something that we're starting to see more of internationally.
Well, I haven't seen it, and that is one of the things that I would like to, because in talking to people all over the country, they'll say, "Well, I grew up on a military base in another country, and this was not a part of the experience." And I said, "Oh my God, why not?" And I'm hoping that uh, the type of um, attention and awareness that I want to bring in documenting and preserving and celebrating cotillion culture, that others will also see the value in it, and will also, and I would love to see a cotillion take place on a U.S. military base. You know that I lived in Columbus, Georgia, and I am a former military dependent. So I could see where this would really benefit young men and young women, even if they are living abroad, that to have this type of experience. It should, it could extend itself further than just the US.
Absolutely. And I think, especially if you grow up on a military base or you are there for school, it can be very lonely not to have some accoutrement from home. So I think this could also be a great thing for people who are missing some aspects of home, or this is an aspect of home that they may never have been exposed to. So this could be a good first exposure for them. And as you know, there are so many chapters of the Divine Nine
Yes.
around the world, and so if there's the desire, this could be something that is taken on.
It is a really beautiful experience. And I want to say 99% of the people that I've talked to have talked about how special that experience was for them. I
Mm.
rarely meet people that say, it was the worst thing ever. I wish I had not done it. Oftentimes, the people that I meet are saying, I wish I could have participated, or something prevented them, or they had some type of barrier, and that is something that they regret. Um, as time has passed, I think that as generations, they've asked, what's the value in this? What's the worth in this? And I'm hoping this project, the National Black Debutante Project, will bring awareness to the value and the benefit and how special this is or can be in a young person's life.
Mm. Well, so there's one other thing I want to ask before we go, but Raymond Torregano himself has joined and says,
Oh,
hello, Dr. Nikita and Dr. Tachi. Well, hello to you, sir.
and as I have asked for your wise counsel, I have really relied on Raymond in helping me develop my online presence with this project because I'm an academic. And so he has been a huge mentor in motivating me to do videos because he would say I was hiding behind the beautiful pictures and the curation of the video. Well,
Mm.
because I felt that that was the work. I didn't feel like people wanted to see me. And so when I did a video and I was like, oh my God, they do want to see who's behind this, who's behind this project. And so I have, to be honest, I was frightened to uh be the face of this project in a way. I love educating people, I love preserving, I love showing the images, but I was like, well, it's really about the cotillion process, it's really about the pageantry, but I've learned too that it's also about the person behind the project. And
Yes.
so I've been working with Raymond Torregano, the famous Ray Torregano, in building my social media presence and image and branding as it relates to this project because I want to bring greater awareness. I want to bring international awareness as it relates to this particular project.
Wow. Well, he is in agreement with the fact that something is happening because he says, you are, and you are killing it. So, absolutely. Let's see. Ray Renati is here. What's up, my good friend from Northern California, actor extraordinaire? Hello, Ray. How are you? Also, who do we have here? Mary. Mary has joined us as well. Hello, Mary. Welcome. Thank you so much for being in here. Let me say this again. If you're just joining, this is such a great conversation. I am with my good friend and backer upper, Dr. Nikita Harris. She and I went to the same doctoral program. And so I've known her for quite a while now at this point.
Over 20 years.
Oh, God, really?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, early 2000s. Wow.
Yes.
Sheesh. Okay.
I know. Time flies. Time flies. Yeah,
Oh
quickly.
my goodness. It seems like just yesterday, weren't we going to NCA in New York?
I know. I know. I know.
Yeah, absolutely. So she is talking about her new initiative, her project. She is the visionary and the director behind the National Black Debutante Project. And yeah, before we go, I want to talk about there is actually, and we talked about this offline, but I want to bring this up here. There is a documentary out from BET Studios called
Yes.
The Debutantes, and
Yes.
it's like a coming of age story. Have you seen this yet?
I
Can
have
you?
not seen it. I
Okay.
am looking forward to seeing it. I'm excited because that is the whole purpose of doing this project is to document and have to provide an avenue so that there is more research and interest in telling the stories. There are so many different stories, and one of the things that I have realized is that everyone thinks their cotillion program is the same as everybody else's cotillion program. And I have learned about all the different nuances, the uniqueness of the different types of programs. And I think each one has a beautiful story that people will be motivated and inspired if they heard of the different types of programs and how they present, and the process is very different. So I'm looking forward to seeing this story and how it's presented. I think it's in Ohio, and it is the reigniting a program that had been dormant for like 12 years. And
Yes.
so I can't wait to learn more about it.
And I'm a documentary hog. I love, not that I'm a hog, but I love documentaries. That's a better way of
Yeah,
saying it.
I'm in the
So
process of shooting one. This is one of the hardest projects I've ever worked on.
welcome,
Really
welcome to
talking,
the
really.
club.
This project is really talking about kind of like the history, the historical beginnings of cotillions in the Southeast, kind of around the Alabama, Georgia area. So yeah, I'm actually working on one and looking
Mm.
forward to doing some really cool interviews with some really cool people in the future.
Mm. All right,
Yes.
let's take some last questions. Gail Taylor asks, is there a particular season for a cotillion to be held? Now, I know everyone that I know tended to be in the winter, but is there a season for
Oh
cotillion? And
yeah.
yeah.
There's a spring cotillion, there's a summer cotillions, quite a few, maybe in the last 2 weeks, I know of 6 cotillions that have occurred
Oh,
across
wow.
the nation. So my
Wow.
cotillion is traditionally in the winter time. It's the weekend before Christmas.
Okay.
But yes, so that's another misconception that they only happen in the winter. But there are
Mm.
spring cotillions, summer cotillions, and winter cotillions as well.
Absolutely, absolutely,
Hmm.
and you're right about that because the one that I was the chair for was in the spring. We always did it before graduation, well before graduation, usually in April.
And
Um,
I just did a post on Facebook. There is a cotillion program in Hazelhurst, Georgia, and is the first in their community. And a lot of people were inspired, and I got a lot of likes by sharing their story. And they presented for their first cotillion in May of this year. So that's another. Um, I guess initiative in the future. I would like to see these type of experience brought to more smaller towns and rural areas to
mm,
give young people the same type of experience that you see in some of our major cities.
that would be wonderful,
Hmm.
and in
So I was
fact,
excited when I saw Hazelhurst, Georgia.
mm,
Hmm.
and in fact, Jasmine said that this is a wonderful idea for military kids, which it
Yes.
is. The food plane said that they had one in Detroit, so
And they
wonderful.
still have one in Detroit, a very beautiful one that I just posted about a month ago. And I
Mm,
did kind of, and they had it in Detroit. There is a Masonic hall that is very historic and very beautiful. I think it's one of the oldest Masonic halls in the country.
mm.
Looks very similar to the Masonic hall in Harlem. And so I did this play between 1950 Harlem and 2024 Detroit. And if you have an opportunity, check it out. You can go to at Black Debutante Society on IG or the National Black Debutante Project and find it there. And I did kind of like the black and white, kind of to show Harlem 1950, and I did the colored photos for the Detroit Cotillion 2024.
Okay, I have to. Somehow I missed this, or did I miss it? I think I did. So I'm going to have to take a minute to go back. We also have another question. Thank you so much for being gracious with us. And let's see. G says this has been quite interesting. There's definitely a place for cotillions today. And Jazz says that you mentioned that cotillions are open to all socioeconomic groups. Are there scholarships for those young ladies who may be priced out of joining?
Well, as you stated, there are a lot of cotillion clubs that look for sponsorships, people to sponsor young people as it relates to the cost that are involved, because there are costs that are involved in concern of the dress, which is one of the major costs of the cotillion, and the preparation as it goes as far as the ball. But oftentimes, I've seen in recent years that a lot of organizations look for sponsors to sponsor young people who may not have the resources to participate. But I don't know. Have y'all seen these proms lately?
Listen,
I'm like, is that really an issue in 2024?
if you can pay for this ridiculous, and I'm sorry, I'm calling it
I, I'm
ridiculous.
just, I'm just, I've had to question that. Because that seems like to be a major concern. But I'm looking at these proms, and I know that these people are probably spending 4 and 5 times more than they would for a cotillion. I'm just saying. I'm just putting it out there.
So it's priorities. You have to
Uh
feel that
huh.
that's something that's important for you. If you're just trying to floss and wear a see-through dress at 10 years old, then
I
this is not for you. But if
I'm
you
just I'm just saying there are cotillion programs that I know of, especially one in Arlington, Texas, where they really take that in consideration. So that all the girls wear the same dress, and they try to find one
yes.
that's reasonable and affordable for everyone. But like I said, I've seen some things today in 2024. I'm like, I don't know if that is real. Yes, resources is always going to be a concern, but um, like you said, priorities.
Absolutely. So, Jesus Black Man, I thank you in the chat on Instagram for trying to explain to him because he's not quite sure about this. So, yes, it is. He asks if it's like a rites of passage, and yes, it
Mhm.
is because for many societies, not just in the U.S., but we're going back to like African
Let's go
society
back to
when.
Africa. Yes.
Yes, when you get to a certain age, there are ceremonies that you go through that mark you passing into adulthood, right? In a sense. So maybe not full adulthood, but this says that you are no longer a child. So it
Right.
may be different ceremonies depending on what ethnic group you're from in Africa, but that same thing has been transferred here across the Atlantic, and it's taken this form. But here's the thing, like I said, we, of course, because I'm African, I was the one in charge of teaching the African dance. They're like, oh,
Yes.
okay, aren't you African? You can teach it. Thank goodness I actually do African dance. Otherwise, I'm like, okay. But I was the one responsible for doing that and helping them research and understand what the dances meant and that type of thing. So there actually was a African rites of passage in what we
Right.
did in our cotillion.
Right.
And many
I
others do
always
that
say
as
it's
well.
very African because there has been some critique. Is this are we trying to imitate European American culture since cotillions came from that? But when you think about rites of passage, I always say this is so African. I don't know how African, more African than you can get. So that has been a critique. And of course, like I said, these cotillions were established in protest to inequality, to segregation, and some of the media societal images of African American women during that period of time is that they weren't refined, that they weren't graceful, that they weren't beautiful. And these African American communities stepped up to the place and said, yes, they are. And we're going to show you, and we're going to provide the same type of experience for our young women. But it was meant to uplift them and make them feel good about themselves. So there's nothing negative about that.
Absolutely not.
Hmm.
D- Nikita, Dr. Harris,
Yes.
this has been absolutely phenomenal. This was a great, and I would love to have you back as you go
I'm
on with the
sorry about the
project.
technical issues. I tried to make sure
Listen,
everything was okay.
listen, you make plans and
I got
God
the
laughs.
Wi-Fi booster in here and everything. I don't know what happened.
When you make plans, God laughs. So you just roll with it. I'm used to this by now of people having whatever. So again, it's just about having a plan B. But I'm glad that you were able to make it back on and that we were able to have this great conversation. Is there anything that you want to leave us with before we head
No,
out?
I just want people, if you're interested, if you've been a previous cotillion participant, previous debutante, that on July the 1st, the portal will open for our national database. We will start taking documents and artifacts in the creation of our national archival special collection in partnership with Auburn Avenue Research Library on History and Culture, and that also we are starting a cotillion organization to bring a community together that will be focused on documenting, preserving, and celebrating African American cotillion culture and history.
Yeah, so please get in touch with Dr. Harris if you yourself have been involved in a botillion or cotillion. Please let her
Yes.
know because I mean, that's part of history, and we would love.
Yes, and we need to preserve it. And
Yeah,
yeah, we need to. And who, if not us, who?
nobody, nobody. That's the answer. So, Dr. Harris, Nikita, thank you so much for being
Thank
here.
you.
everybody, thank you all so much for being here. Nikita, don't go anywhere after we and just stay where you are. Folks, thank you so much. You know, I appreciate you all. This is so much fun for me. You all make my Wednesdays. Nothing else happens for me on Wednesday. People be like, can you? No, I cannot. Because Wednesday is for this, because I want to bring you great conversations with people like Dr. Nikita Harris. Before we go, Fifi is clapping for this.
Oh, great.
Yeah, we have some great comments. Ron Foster, what's up, Ron? Ron does a daily show, which is on Indie Soup Media, and he says this was great. Food Plane says, thanks for the stream. This was fun and informative. Jasmine says, this has been great. I learned something new. Well, I'm glad. Fantastic. And Ron also says cotillions used to be a prime part of Black life in America, especially church life. And
yeah, we did talk about church cotillions. Yes.
We did. Ron is church, okay? So,
but he is very much correct, and a lot of people don't know that, and that's why this project is so important.
Wow, I can't wait to see how this develops. Thank you so much once again. And thank you all for coming in and hanging out with us we are way over time, but thank you for hanging out with us anyway. And again, if you are in Nassau, Bahamas, or the rest of the Caribbean, you can listen to this replay live tomorrow at 2 p.m. on Gospel 107.1 FM. And guys, you can go to Gospel 107's website if you want to just listen because you missed today, or you just want to hear the replay. You can always watch the replay. And that is it, guys. I'm going to let you go. You have been so gracious with giving us your time. I'll end with the way I always do. I love you for watching. I bid you adieu. You guys, myself, Dr. Harris, and all of this information, we are exiting stage left. Until next week, cheers, guys. Okay, for real this time. Let's see if I can find what I need to find so we can get off. Here we are. Cheers, guys.
Close the doors, walk across the corridor. We got something to show you. Media is our repertoire. Fed with the same news, no channel to use. Cruise control mentalities. Here we offer you. We gon' show you what you play. The content, it never stays. We're positive and uplifting. Once a week, the scope gifted. Let's hear from fake. Hydration like Boucher. Don't focus on a date. We always here for you. Be a soap when you emotionally broke. Settle in our knowledge.